trial is finally in the starting stages after several delays.
Israel is leading the way with new COVID travel restrictions for those that have been vaccinated.
And a hazing incident in Ohio turns into a tragedy.
Broadcasting live from the University of North Texas, this is ntTV News at Noon.
Thanks for joining us on ntTV News at Noon. I'm Jocelyn Lassiter.
And I'm Hannah Gonzalez.
It's one of the most anticipated criminal trials in years. Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin is facing multiple charges related to the death of George Floyd. The video of Chauvin kneeling on the neck of Floyd, an unarmed black man, went viral, sparking protests around the world against racism and police brutality. CNN's Nadia Romero is in Minneapolis with the latest as jury selection is set to begin today.
Emotions outside the Hennepin County Government Center running high.
My concern is that the outcome is going to be the same as it's always been, a cop being found not guilty saying he was just doing his job.
Inside, following a one-day delay, jury selection is set to begin in the case against Derek Chauvin. Former Minneapolis police officer featured in this video, seen around the world, kneeling on George Floyd's neck for nearly 8 minutes.
We are praying for justice. Our hope is that justice prevails and we can all use this as an opportunity to be better and do better for those around us.
Jury selection halted as prosecutors asked the judge to reinstate a third-degree murder charge, in addition to the second-degree unintentional murder and manslaughter charges Chauvin is already facing. He has pleaded not guilty.
This court will have to be making decisions about seating jurors for that trial, a trial that we don't know what the charges will be in yet.
More than a dozen potential jurors already removed from the pool due to their responses to a 16-page questionnaire asking about their feelings concerning police and protest.
Unless the Court of Appeals tells me otherwise, we're going to keep moving.
In Minneapolis, I'm Nadia Romero.
Myanmar's political uprising has now taken its focus onto the media. The now military-controlled government is seeking to suppress media coverage of protests against its seizure of power. As of now, journalists and citizens are trying to inform people of the chaos the country is currently undergoing. Yesterday, authorities canceled the licenses of 5 local media outlets that offered extensive coverage of the protests. This crackdown comes after protesters continue to get arrested and the violence continues to escalate. Citizens are now trying to get the word out through social media platforms. Jocelyn, yesterday we had amazing weather. Do you think it'll stay this nice?
I really hope so. Our weather anchor, Alyssa Weems, can tell us more. Alyssa?
Well, Jocelyn and Hannah, it will get pretty warm these next few days, but right now let's look at our current conditions right now across Denton. Right now it is 61 degrees, but it will feel like 59, and it will have a 20-mile-per-hour wind speed. But right now, looking at tonight's conditions, it will still be 61 degrees. That is the low today, so it is expected, but it will get it will feel like 55 degrees. But right now, looking at tomorrow's conditions, it will get too high. It will get to about 78 degrees, so that's pretty hot. Hopefully, it'll get warmer throughout the week, but it will feel like 73 degrees with that 20-mile-per-hour wind speed. But stay tuned later on in the show for the full 7-day forecast.
Thanks, Alyssa. The 2020 Tokyo Olympics faced another hurdle after canceling an event due to the pandemic. The International Gymnastics Federation announced today that the Artistic All-Around World Cup in Tokyo has been canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The event was set to serve as a test event for the summer's Olympics and was scheduled for May 4th. In its statement, the International Gymnastics Federation said the cancellation is due to the current travel restriction and the measures taken by the Japanese authorities to limit the rate of coronavirus infections in the country ahead of the Olympic Games.
According to new data released by the CDC, the amount of people in the U.S. who have had the COVID-19 vaccination has passed the total number of those infected. The agency also released new guidelines for fully vaccinated Americans. CNN's Mandy Gaither has more on the story.
For the first time, there are recommendations for fully vaccinated Americans.
When I say fully vaccinated, I mean people who are 2 weeks after their second dose of either the Pfizer or Moderna vaccines, or 2 weeks after a single dose of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
The CDC recommends those who are fully vaccinated can visit other fully vaccinated people in small gatherings indoors without masks or social distancing. And the agency says fully vaccinated people can also visit with unvaccinated people from a single family without masks or social distancing if those they're meeting are not at high risk for severe illness from COVID-19.
When fully vaccinated people are visiting with unvaccinated people from multiple households, everyone should wear masks and physically distance and meet outdoors in a well-ventilated space.
If a fully vaccinated person is exposed to COVID-19, the CDC says there's no need for that person to quarantine as long as they're asymptomatic. The agency says it's not changing its guidance on travel and continues to advise against it, stressing that there are still high levels of virus around the country and highly contagious variants have now been confirmed in nearly every state.
While we work to quickly vaccinate people more and more each day, we have to see this through. Let's stick together. Please keep wearing a well-fitting mask and taking the other public health actions we know work to help stop the spread of this virus.
I'm Mandy Gaither reporting.
Following these new freedoms by the CDC, Israel is easing its COVID-related restrictions and allowing vaccinated citizens new freedoms. Either through an app or certificate known as the Green Passport, citizens will have access to concerts, gyms, and indoor dining. The result of the Green Passport means that the economy can slowly but surely begin to recover from the pandemic. About 5 million Israelis have had a first dose of the vaccine, and 40% of Israelis have had both vaccine shots and can enjoy new freedoms with limits on total numbers.
For the first time in 21 years, almost 800 nurses at St. Vincent Hospital in Worcester, Massachusetts, went on strike yesterday. The strike is a result of failed negotiations with the Tenet Healthcare Corporation. Nurses at the Massachusetts hospital says that Tenet has refused to address much-needed upgrades that would ensure safer patient care. The nurses have been negotiating with the Dallas-based healthcare company for the past 2 years. A spokesperson with the hospital says that now isn't the time for a strike, especially in the middle of a pandemic. The hospital says it is still staffed despite losing so many nurses.
Is the University of Texas still under fire for their controversial school song?
And apparently there's a different way people have been getting the COVID vaccine. Find out more after the break.
Jordan knows
Ohio State's Governor Mike DeWine is speaking out after a student from Bowling Green State University passed away from an alleged hazing incident. The 20-year-old passed away on Sunday in a hazing incident that involved a large amount of alcohol. The family attorney says the student was at an off-campus party with the fraternity Pi Kappa Alpha and was told to drink a bottle of liquor. The student was rushed to the hospital after roommates found him unresponsive in his room later that night. Governor DeWine is now pushing to make Ohio a hazing-free state, and the National Pi Kappa Alpha organization says it will take immediate action.
The University of Texas released its committee report in regards to controversy over the school song, The Eyes of Texas. Following the death of George Floyd, students at the university made calls for the school song to be dropped because of potential ties to Confederate Commander Robert E. Lee. The report specifies that while the song was released in a racist setting, it had no racist intent. The report comes after former football players at the university say they received death threats after refusing to sing the song. Jocelyn, I heard it's supposed to rain this week.
You know, I think I heard the same, but everyone knows I do not a fan of cold or rain weather. Alyssa, what can you tell us?
Well, fortunately, Jocelyn and Hannah, it will get warmer these next few days. However, there is rain coming this weekend. But right now, let's look at our current conditions, across the Metroplex right now. We see in Denton, it is 61 degrees, McKinney 59, Sulphur Springs 61. So you see across the Metroplex, it is going to be in the lower 60s and upper 50s. But right now, let's look across the state right now. We see Abilene at 64, Austin 63, Houston at 72. I wish we were in those temperatures right now. But right now, let's look at our temperatures for the 7-day forecast. As I mentioned, it will rain this weekend. It will start on Friday and end on Sunday. But luckily, Jocelyn, those warmer temperatures will begin to rise. It will get up to 79 degrees on Thursday and Friday. But because of the rain, the temperatures will unfortunately drop. But it will get sunny again on Monday. Back to y'all at the desk.
UNT is known as the Mean Green, and a part of that is our anticipation in the national race to zero waste that takes place every year.
UNT has been known to be one of the greenest colleges in the U.S., and they're extending their efforts to be more earth-friendly by participating in this annual competition that some of you might recognize.
This is actually the first year this campaign is called Campus Race to Zero Waste. Formerly, it's been known by Recyclemania, and it's an annual national competition hosted by the National Wildlife Federation.
The Campus Race to Zero Waste measures and compares campus waste reduction efforts over an 8-week period for universities in the U.S. and Canada.
Over 2 months, we really look to push the idea of reducing waste in your everyday life.
UNT's take on the Campus Race to Zero Waste competition will be segmented into 8 weeks of education and programming.
All the 8 R's of reducing waste. And so those go from rethinking your behaviors to reducing the consumption you might have, all the way up to what we call our newer R's of reducing waste, recruit and reform.
And of course, there are ways to help.
Opt for like a reusable water bottle instead of plastic water bottles, or you are more mindful of how you dispose your waste.
Students, faculty, and staff have until March 7th to help UNT in the race to zero waste. This morning regarding the City of Denton's lawsuit against ERCOT, parties agreed to extend the temporary restraining order currently in effect until April 30th. The City of Denton filed a lawsuit against ERCOT in late February looking to prevent Denton from using public funds to pay for other municipalities' failed payments. The City of Denton's Director of Customer Service and Public Affairs, Ryan Adams, said, quote, "Under the Constitution, anytime the city gives money when there's not a public benefit, that is considered a gift and that is unconstitutional." A motion to transfer venue has been filed by ERCOT and will be heard on March 23rd. We will keep you updated as the story develops.
Denton County Public Health reported another 618 cases of COVID-19 on Monday. The county says so far 115,751 residents who have gotten their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, while 69,979 people in the county have been fully vaccinated so far. According to the Denton County Public Health, there are 60 people currently hospitalized with COVID-19. The number has remained under 100 since March 2nd. With the CDC's guidance on what fully vaccinated people can do, followed by the continued rollout of the vaccine, many health officials in the U.S. are saying the worst is behind us. As the waiting list for COVID-19 vaccines gets longer, cybersecurity experts are warning people against trying to buy it on the dark web, which seems like a bad idea in the first place, but I guess that's the length some people are willing to go to. Zach Dahlheimer has more.
The whole process was really easy.
One by one, people in Hampton Roads are getting their COVID-19 vaccine.
Glad I got in, and now I just have to wait for the second shot.
But now a warning from the cybersecurity firm Kaspersky of COVID shots being sold on the dark web.
I hear 5 alarm bells ringing loud and clear for people to stay away.
North Carolina Attorney General Josh Stein says his office has heard of stolen vaccines ending up on the black market through the dark web. Kaspersky researchers looked at 15 different marketplaces, finding ads for Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Moderna, and unspecified vaccines.
When you deal with criminals, you have no idea what they're selling. They may be selling you something they say is a COVID-19 vaccine. It could be a drug that could kill you.
Many sellers come from the U.S., UK, France, and Germany, with prices per dose ranging from $250 to $1,200, with an average cost of about $500, and payments usually requested in Bitcoin.
Why would someone be enticed to go this route to try and get a vaccine?
Because they have the money to spend, and secondly, they don't want to wait. They want it now.
If the supply is limited, which it is, and the demand is high, you're going to see people trying to make money off of it.
Buyers and sellers communicate through encrypted messaging apps like Wicker and Telegram.
Basically, it's encrypted. You type your message, you send it, and it's nothing but a bunch of letters and characters that go out.
Researchers tell us the majority of underground sellers have made between 100 to 500 transactions, and it's not clear how many represent real shots and how many are a scam.
If somebody walked up you on the street and opened up their trench coat and had COVID vaccines, would you buy one? Because that's what you're talking about here.
We are working as fast as possible from the medical community standpoint.
Wait your turn, and when it's your turn, get your vaccine.
And as for those selling on the dark web,
we will hold you accountable to the full extent of the law.
Zach Dahlheimer, News 3.
So, Hannah, have you been near Denton Square anytime recently?
I actually did, near the City Hall West. And speaking of that, we have Blake Weiland to tell us more. Blake?
The almost $7 million project to renovate City Hall West remains on hold, while officials still determine how it should be used, more than 4 years after the building had been vacated. Council members said that completing City Hall West renovations and reopening the building should be a priority this year. Multiple different proposals have been suggested for the fate of the building, are vast and range from an arts facility, a museum, to a Veterans Hall of Fame. There have also been talks about demolishing the inside of the building due to flooding that happened in February. That's all I have for now. Back to you at the desk.
Denton's current city manager, Sarah Hensley, could remain in position for several months because city council desired to find a successor after the May elections. Hensley was appointed the interim city manager after previous manager Todd Howman left for the same position in Palm Desert, California. Councilmember Jesse Davis said that nothing has changed since Hensley took over the position.
When we return, our road trip expert has your next spot to travel.
And one California man faces charges after a fire that occurred in 2016. Stick around.
once the weather clears up, Jocelyn, I need something fun to do. Do you have any suggestions?
Well, I heard Kevin Pacheco has a great spot you can visit. Kevin?
That's right, it was sunny and beautiful over the weekend, so I decided to get out of the house, take a trip to Frisco, Texas, and explore a beautiful garden that was full of art and wildlife.
The Texas Sculpture Garden is located in Frisco, Texas. This 162-acre establishment contains over 40 sculptures that are open to the public year-round. The garden was created to benefit the Texas community by honoring homegrown artists and displaying their work. Guided tours are also available through the garden's mobile app. Visitors can use this app to listen to the artists talk about the process in creating sculptures. Each artist added a personal twist, so no two sculptures look identical.
This sculpture was donated to the Texas Sculpture Garden by an artist named Mac Whitney. The artist currently lives and works in Texas. This is made out of full steel. What the artist said he did, he grabbed a round steel plate, cut some lines through it, pulled them apart to give it its three-dimensional shape and a sense of openness. The sculpture is called Blanco.
Trails, ponds, and fountains have been designed to complement the art. This is a great destination to have a picnic or just sit down, relax, and enjoy the scenery. The garden is typically open from 9 a.m. until dusk, so it's best to get out there early and enjoy the sights.
Times have been stressful during COVID-19, so it's a great idea to get out, take a break, and mentally relax. Back to you guys at the desk.
A man in California pleaded guilty to 36 involuntary manslaughter charges after a warehouse caught fire. Derek Almina was the master tenant of the so-called Ghost Ship warehouse in Oakland. He transformed it into a substandard multi-use space and held a concert at this venue in 2016, in which a fire broke out, resulting in deaths of 36 attendees. He is also scheduled for a rehearing on April 30th.
First Dogs champ and Major have been sent back to the Biden home in Delaware. Sources say the two German Shepherds displayed, quote, aggressive behavior after apparently biting a member of White House security. The condition of the victim is unknown, but the younger dog Major has been known to display agitated behavior in the past.
I'm a dog lover, and I know that environment just might be the problem. What do you think, Jocelyn?
I totally understand. It's a new home for them. But let's switch things up a bit. I'm excited to hear about what went down in the sports world. Maybe our sports anchor, Shaji Adam, can tell us if Dak is getting to the big money. Shaji?
Thanks, Jocelyn. Well, you actually are right. Dak Prescott, as a child, said that his dream was to play for the Dallas Cowboys. Fast forward to 2021, and he just signed his big contract. I'll discuss Dak's new contract and what it means for Dallas's cap space. All that and more right after this. Cowboys fans, take a deep breath and exhale because number 4 is here to stay. It was revealed yesterday by ESPN's Adam Schefter that Dak Prescott and Dallas have agreed to a 4-year, $160 million deal, including $126 million guaranteed. There's also more history to go along with this, as Dak will receive a $66 million signing bonus, which is the most in National Football League history. While this is a monster deal, there is more than meets the eye. The salary cap number for this season will be $22.2 million instead of the $37.7 million that would have come with the franchise tag. That is saving over $15.5 million against the salary cap. Prescott and contract talks have been going hand in hand since he was drafted back in 2016. But now all the talk, rumors, and criticisms have been put to rest. It is going to be an interesting 4 years for America's team. And while the NFL season is just right around the corner, the Conference USA tournament in Frisco is finally here. While that is exciting, North Texas is looking for a fresh start. After having a 4-game win streak, UNT then dropped their next 3. Not only is their record now 13-9, the Mean Green are now not eligible for a bye week in this tournament. Their first game is tomorrow at 10 p.m. against Middle Tennessee. That's all I have. Sending it back to you at the desk.
It's everyone's favorite holiday. That's right, it's National Meatball Day.
Thanks for joining us on ntTV News at Noon.
Join us again tonight at 6 here on North Texas Television.